How's it going, everyone? Hope you're ready for another adventure, because today, Wayne reads Watchdog and the Coyotes from Bill Wallace. For many of you who have been keeping up, we're taking this a few chapters at a time, and today we're picking up at chapter 5. If you want to follow along with the words, just press the CC button in your YouTube link, and all the words will pop up for you to follow along with us. I hope we have our friend coming back today. Yep, I was right. Looks like Red is back to hang out with us. Thanks for being with us, Red, and thanks for giving us such great advice last time. Red's a good boy. So let's jump in. Chapter 5. Please, I whimpered, don't dig a hole in my yard. Mr. Schaefer will take me to the pound and... Red ignored me and kept digging. I had to stop him. I remembered what happened to Scotty. I couldn't let Red dig. In the twitch of a whisker, I leaped between him and the fence and plopped down, right where he was digging. He looked at me and snarled. Then, with a grunt, pulled his paws out from under my bottom. Move, you ox, he growled. Red tried to dig under my tail, but I pushed my bottom harder against the ground. Please stop. If Mr. Schaefer finds a hole in his yard, get away from my yard. The high voice snarled from the far side of the tall fence. Red moved around in front of me and started digging from a different angle. I put my paws down and stopped him. I'm warning you, Pookie yapped. I'm big, mean, and tough, and... Red moved again. He tried to wiggle himself between me and the fence so he could dig, and pushed himself against it, and kept him from getting through. Instantly, he scooted behind me and tried to dig there. He shoved, trying to make an opening between me and the fence. I pushed harder against the fence to block. There was a loud crunch, crack. Something snapped. Something gave way. I felt myself falling, paws and legs sprawling. I tumbled backwards. I landed on my head with a thud. Suddenly, I was no longer in my backyard. I blinked and looked around. The fence was on the wrong side. I was on the wrong side. I was upside down. From the corner of my eye, I saw a white, black, and brown streak. It shot across the yard and disappeared into a small doghouse under a pecan tree. I think you were right about our new friend. Paws turning, I rolled from my back and struggled to my feet. Frantic, I looked around. Where am I? What happened? Where's my yard? And my food bowl? This dog has his priorities. Good job, pup. Red's head appeared through the opening in the fence, his shoulders, chest, and rear. Finally, his tail slipped through and he wagged it. Wish I was big enough to snap boards like that. It would have sure saved a lot of time and effort digging under. What happened? I repeated. Red turned back to the fence. With his nose, he shoved on the boards, and it swung from the loose nail on top. As it moved, I could see the fresh wood at the bottom where it was cracked. The two boards next to it were broken as well. Although I could barely see the crack, they were also held by one loose nail at the top of the fence. You snapped those 3 boards, pup, and just busted right through them. Those loose boards make a neat gate. The way they swing from those top nails, as though we should go through, they just slip right back into place. Our masters won't even know about it. But how do I get home? One ear ached. Just stick your nose through the crack, Red explained. Once you screech through, the fence boards will swing back into place. I couldn't have done it better myself. I stuck my nose in the crack. Sure enough, the board moved. I was so big that 2 boards moved when I thrust my whole head through. My yard was still there. So was my food bowl. Just then, someone nipped my tail. It was a gentle nip, more of a tug. I backed out of the opening and looked around. Red tugged at my tail. Come on, let's go check on the beagle. I hesitated. The beagle, Pookie, was big and mean and scary. I really didn't know whether we should try to find him or not. Red trotted across the yard towards the little doghouse under the pecan tree. I waited a moment, then cautiously followed him. "Why did you lie to me?" I asked. The little dog cowered against the back wall of the tiny doghouse. He covered one eye with a big floppy ear. Pookie was tiny. Well, I guess he was a normal size for a beagle, but compared to me, he was tiny. He was mostly white with big black-brown spots on his fur. It would have taken 5 of them to make one of me, and he wasn't mean at all. "Why did you lie?" I repeated. "You told me you were big and fierce and mean." The floppy ear wiggled just a bit. I could see part of a soft brown eye. "I could tell you were huge," said Pookie, saying sheepishly. "I was afraid if you knew how small I was, you'd eat me, so, well, I figured if you thought I was big and mean and tough, you'd stay on your own side of the fence. I'm really tough, though. I'm a lot stronger and meaner than I look." I'm sure he is. And he hid his eye under his ear. "Please don't eat me." Red plopped down on his bottom. He had to lean over to one side to see the low doghouse. "Nobody's gonna eat you. He just wants to be friends. Come on out." Red and I talked to Pookie for a long time before we finally got him out of his house. When he did come out, he tried to look mean. His curved tail stood straight up in the air, and his hair rose along his back sharp ridge, and his short little legs were as stiff as boards in a fence. We all took turns sniffing and inspecting each other. Pookie kept growling and telling us how ferocious he was, but he finally relaxed. "I guess you guys are okay," he admitted. "You're just so darn big, though." "I'm a Great Dane," I told him. "Great Danes are supposed to be big. We can't help it." "I'm not all that big," Red confessed. "I'm really kind of skinny, mostly long red hair. Besides, like I told you through the fence, I'm too old to fight. My pup here is nothing more but an old pussycat." "I'm not a pussycat," I said. "I'm a dog, and I'm not a pup either. I'm 3.5 years old, so I'm an adult dog." Red wiggled his nose from side to side. "Well, compared to me, you're a pup. I'm 12. Besides, you act like a pup. Won't even bite a burglar." "A burglar?" Pookie snarled. "Is that what all the commotion was last night? Man, if I ever get a hold of a burglar, I'll chew his legs off." While we explored Pookie's yard and peed on his shrubs, Red told him all about the burglar and why I didn't bite him, because I made a mistake once and bit some old lady on the bottom. When the 3 of us squeezed through the boards to show Pookie my yard and pee on my bushes, Red told him about how my brothers and sisters called me a bully, and about how I was afraid to dig dirt because of a guy named Scotty who went to the pound. We were just getting ready to crawl through the hole so we could explore Red's yard when Pookie stopped. His floppy ears perked up and his tail stopped wagging. "That's my master's car. It's almost evening and he's home from work." His tail made a circle. "My master will be out to feed me in a minute." Red glanced at the orange sliver of sun just rested on the back fence. "We'd better get home before our masters find out we've gone," he said. "First thing, after they leave for work in the morning, we'll get together and see if we can straighten this Great Dane. We'll see if we can straighten him out." Pookie slipped through the opening in his side of the yard. As soon as his tail disappeared, the boards slipped back into place as if they weren't even broken. Red made a grunting sound as he squeezed through the hole on his side of the yard. "I figure you're safe," he called from the other side. "If your master was going to take you to the pound, he would have already done it, so quit worrying. See you in the morning, pup." "My name's not Pup," I told the fence. It's Sweetie. I think Pup was a better name, but Sweetie will work. From the other side of the boards, I could hear Red chuckling. "You were such a good boy. Such a good boy." That night, a coyote howled in the desert. He was much closer than last time I'd heard him. The sound of his voice made me uneasy. His howl made the hair on my back stand on end. He was so close that I could almost understand what he was howling about. Almost, but not quite. The sound didn't make me feel lonely though. Now, I had two new friends to make me feel better. I guess Red was right about my master. Mr. Schaefer didn't take me to the pound. In fact, the next morning he petted me and scratched me behind the ears, and when he put food in my bowl, "Some watchdog you are," he said. His words should have made my tail wag, but the way he said the word watchdog made my shoulders sag and my tail tuck under. I knew for sure that my master was not really proud of me. People are bad about that, I thought. They're bad about saying one thing and really meaning something else. Very fair. When Pookie's master left for work, the beagle shoved the broken boards aside with his nose and came over to say good morning. Aww. He waited at the hole under Red's fence until we heard a door slam and a car pull out of the driveway. Then we went to go visit Red. Pookie walked through the hole under the fence. He hardly had to squat. I couldn't get through. I was afraid to dig, so I waited by the fence until Reg and Pookie dug enough dirt in the hole for me to squeeze my way under. We explored Red's yard and romped and even chased one another around the yard. Even though he was old, Red was still pretty fast. He got tired quickly though, so he went to sit by his doghouse. "Got plenty of food left," he panted. "You guys hungry? Help yourselves." "I'm always hungry," Pookie wagged his tails. "Thanks." He looked up at me. "How about you? You're as big as a horse. Probably takes a ton of dog food to fill you up. You go first." I flipped my tail to one side and sat down. "I may look big as a horse to you, but that doesn't mean I have to eat like one. I'm full. You should eat." "I'm not hungry." Pookie finished Red's leftovers, and then all three of us stretched out to soak up some warm sunshine. We spent the day and the days that followed lying in the sun and playing chase. Red wouldn't run for very long because he got tired. Pookie had lots more energy. He was quick too. Just about the time I got to him, he'd dart to one side. My long legs were faster than his short, stubby ones, but I couldn't turn as quickly. I nearly had to stop to make such sharp turns. Sometimes he'd turn so quickly, I'd stumble and land on my chin just to keep up with him. I did have to be careful not to step on Pookie. My paws were so big and he was so small, one good smack might have smushed him. I was glad that Red had forgotten to make me tell him about my little boy. The memories of my boy and of Oklahoma always made me sad. I was having so much fun with my new friends. I wanted the good feelings to last. I wanted to forget the sad time. You are such a good friend. And we did have wonderful times. We spent fall romping and playing. We shared our food. We chased each other and lay in the yard to soak up the Arizona sun. Winter tried to come a couple of times, but fall chased it away as quickly as easily as I used to chase away sparrows from Mama's food bowl. I knew it would be that way too. The first year I lived with the Schaefers was in a place called Chickasha, Oklahoma. The winter there was cold and nasty. It rained, and a few times it snowed or the ground was slippery with ice. When the wind blew from the north, it howled. It shook the brown leaves from the trees and left them naked and shivering. It was a damp, cold wind that did cut right through my fur and down to my bones. Then 2 years ago, my master got a new job. It was called retirement? We moved here to Scottsdale. Mr. and Mrs. Schaefer worked hard at retirement. She painted pictures, and he made things out of silver and pretty little blue gems. Each morning they got in their car and went to the shop. I didn't know what the shop was, but they always took pictures and trinkets with them, and they always came home about the same time Pookie's masters did. 2 years after we'd spent at Mr. Schaefer's new job in Arizona had been great. The winters here seemed more like spring in Oklahoma, The wind didn't blow, and there was never ice on the ground to slip and fall. I thought I would always be that way. Only this winter was different. One night the wind howled. It was so cold that even the needles on the cactuses shivered. I kept hearing this strange sound, so I crawled out of my doghouse to investigate. The sound came from the direction of Red's yard. I leaned my ear against the fence and listened. It was a whining, whimpering sort of sound. It was Red's voice. It sounded like he was hurt. Quick as a flash, I darted under the fence and trotted into his yard. Red was huddled in his corner. He was asleep, but his legs shook, and the whimpering sound kept coming from his open half. Red? I trembled. Red, are you all right? When I opened, he jerked, surprised to see my big head poking out of his doghouse. What's wrong? Are you hurt? It's my arthritis. I didn't mean to wake you. I cocked an ear and tilted my head to one side. What's arthritis? He whined and straightened out his front leg. It's my joints. People get it too. That's how I learned the word. My master is always moaning and complaining about his arthritis. It happens to us sometimes when we get old. Our joints get stiff and they hurt. I guess the cold brought it on. I nudged him with my nose. I can help keep you warm, I said. I started to crawl through the doorway. Red's doghouse wasn't nearly as big as mine. There wasn't enough room. Can you get up? Red moved his legs and groaned. I nudged him again. Come on over to my house. There's plenty of room. We can snuggle up and I'll keep you warm. You won't hurt so much if you're warm. It took the Irish setter a long time to get up. On his stiff, straight legs, he followed me to the hole and under the fence. He let out a little yelp and moans, and he bent to squeeze through. Once we were through in my house, though, I gave Red the spot I had already warmed. Then I lay down and kind of made a curve around him so I could keep him warm. For a time, he moaned and whined. I snuggled closer, and after a while, Red relaxed and fell asleep. Once I was sure he was warm and comfortable, I dozed off too. Tomorrow night, if it is cold, I would invite Pookie to come sleep with us. It felt good to have a friend to snuggle with. I don't think I ever slept so well. It's the best sleep I can remember until... we have an until, but I think that is an excellent place for us to end today's story. Thank you, buddy, and thank you for all the help that you did in today's story as well. And thank you for joining us today. This has been Wayne Reads, and we'll catch you on the next adventure. Bye-bye!